When I was 6 weeks old, my father was involved in a car accident. My grandfather felt like it was his responsibility to take us in, and he provided a very good life for me. The church where he went, the door wasn't open that he wasn't the first one there. We had a dynamic in our family that was unique. We had a Methodist church and we had a Baptist church in Drexboro, and half went to the Baptist and half went to the Methodist. My mother was a member of the Methodist, so that's where I went to church. As a child, I was always there. I had cousins and aunts and uncles that really took care of me because my mother did not drive and my grandfather didn't drive because of his leg. So they would come and get me, take me everywhere, included me with everything, because I guess they felt a little sorry that I did not have a father. I had one cousin. She was the oldest. Things changed in our life. I remember I was probably the last person in the family to have an interaction with her when we were leaving Sunday's church, and she had a 1-year-old, and it was in January of 79, and it was like the weather is here today. And she said, "Honey, will you run down to the store and get me some milk and stuff for the kids, because I don't want to get them out in it." So I was excited because she had a new car and I was going to get to drive her new car. You know, I was just 16. So I went and got that, and the next day she was on the way to the IGA in Beachmont to get the little baby's first birthday cake, and she had an accident and passed away. She was our little youth music director, and she did all the solos in the church, and the church was, you know, she was there all the time too. Things kind of changed in my life at that point. I had lost someone that you know, took care of me. Every day in the summertime, she would come pick me up and take me to the lake. And after that, I had a real big hole in my heart. It never really, for a long time, wasn't the same to be in the church, because she was such a, you know, firm foundation. You know, I went from being there all the time to slowly just getting away from that. Then I became a teenager, and then I became a young man, went to work, and got away from going. I started in about 2005, 2006 is when I started coming to Eastwood. I went through a divorce and I remarried, and she was a member of Eastwood, and my stepchildren were, so I started coming with them. I kind of always wanted to be a Baptist because my grandfather was a Baptist, so and a lot of my friends were at the Baptist church in Drexboro, but my mother wouldn't allow me to go. I had to go to the Methodist church. That's how it all started, and then so then I joined the choir, and then I decided that the Lord was laying it on me that I wanted to become a member of the church, and I knew by being involved in church that I would have to be baptized. I decided to do that, and then I decided, well, if I'm going to do that, I want to go to the river. I want to be submerged in the river. I always wanted to do that. So, of course, you know, Dana, you did that, you and David Owens, and I will always hold that close to me. Reflecting back on it, I don't know a time in my life that I didn't feel the Lord in me, because I was given so much from an early age from my family. Anytime I was in need, the Lord always provided for me. I've always felt the presence of the Lord. I think that He's always knew my heart was in the right place, even when sometimes I wasn't acting like I should be. But yes, He was. He was weighing on me. He was weighing on me to make a commitment to join the church. Because as a child, I was always a member of a church, and I knew the responsibilities in that. And that's when I felt that I should make a commitment and walk with the Lord, because the Lord has always been there. You know, like a lot of members in Christians, sometimes I don't quite act like I'm supposed to. I can lose my temper. But things changed for me a couple years ago. and you were there with me, Dana, when this happened. My mother struggled a lot after my father died. She was really in love with him, and she had a lot of bitterness, to the world because he wasn't there. She would look at me sometimes and think, what if? I sometimes would have a problem with us communicating back and forth with each other, but I remember always she had one biblical story, the Sermon on the Mount, and she preached that to me. And when she passed away, that's the first time that I really had forgiveness. I thought I knew what forgiveness was, but the Lord laid upon my heart that me holding bitterness and stuff like that was only hurting me in my fellowship with the Lord, because, for what He did. He died on the cross for me. He forgave me of my sins, and now it was time for me to forgive and rejoice in the presence of her being with the Lord and my Father. Yeah, I talk about it quite often, and I tell everybody, that people think that they cannot go and start this journey because of they're ashamed of things they've done. Everybody in the church, the building, has a lot of the same stories. They're not going to judge you. The Lord wants you to hear His word where you will change. And I'm still doing that. There's another story, and this happened during Christmas Eve. We had decided, since everybody was traveling late, that we probably were going to stick around and not go to the candlelight service. So I was out in the garage, and all of a sudden I look up, and my wife is backing out of the driveway, and she left me there. I was mad at them because they left me. And the Lord let me know that if it was that important to me, I would have went. And if they didn't want to go, I would have went myself. So He put the burden on me from that point on that I make those choices myself, and I need to follow through with them myself. And that was part of the testimony that I was going to give. I made a commitment that day that I would concentrate on doing what the Lord wants Rodney to do, not what others do.